What's up? I'm Bradley, and here I go talking about fish again. This is a very special fish called the Devil's Hole Pupfish, and I'm going to talk about them because I think they're interesting little creatures. Oh shit! So this is Death Valley. Death Valley is in California, and it is probably one of the hottest places in the United States, getting up to 110, 113 degrees in the summer. In the winter, it dips down to about 70 degrees. And there is a fish that lives on the outskirts of Death Valley in a hole called the Devil's Hole, and I'll get there in a second. But why would fish live in a desert like this? That's a good question. Now, millions of years ago, Death Valley used to be a fertile ocean or pond or whatever the fuck. There's a lot of water there at one point, and some fish were left over from a long time ago, and those fish have descended to be the fish that live there today, which is cool. So there are little oases in Death Valley, especially in Armagosa Valley, and we think that the Devil's Hole pupfish branched off from there, and we're living in a little pond, isolated. And so we'll talk about them in a second. But this is the Devil's Hole. Devil's Hole is very interesting. For one, Charles Manson loved to go there. He would go there and obsess about the water, and he thought that the water was a very sacred place. And he would go there and pray often. And he spent some time there before he went on to do other things. But that's the Devil's Hole, and there's a fish that lives in there. It is about 3 times as salty as the ocean and around 90 degrees Fahrenheit at the hottest. Um, and it can get colder, but it is a geothermal pool. Now, this is not a complete map of the geothermal pool that leads to a bunch of caves. People have died trying to figure out where the hell the water comes from. And that is a mystery we still need to solve. But for good reason, the Devil's Hole is protected by the Fish and Wildlife departments. So that's pretty cool. So nobody can go in there and die. But people have died, unfortunately. And these are very experienced divers and swimmers and things like that. So we don't know. It's a big mystery as to what the hell is this about? But that's the best we've mapped out. But the devils, the pupfish, live up in the top area there, where the entrance is. Now, what's even crazier is since this is a geothermal pool, there's all sorts of weird shit that goes on there. One of the things I think is extraordinarily weird is the fact that earthquakes from far away can produce these waves called psych waves, which are just waves that are in place and really caused by nothing. But a long time ago, not a long time ago, but several years ago, there was an earthquake in Oaxaca, Mexico, roughly 2,000 miles away from the Devil's Hole. And it was a 7.0 earthquake. And these are the waves that were caused by that earthquake that was 2,000 miles away, just there in that little pool. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, I think it's interesting. So this is the Devil's Hole pupfish, excuse me. They're about roughly an inch long. These little guys. That's the male, and that's a female, or I think that's a female. Anyways, their scientific name is Cyprinodon diabolis, which just means dog tooth of the devil, because supposedly they have dull little canine teeth, which I think are pretty cool. And the reason as to why their common name is pupfish is because when they were discovered, they thought they were really cute and playing around like puppies, just chasing each other around. So that's why they're called Devil's Hole pupfish. Yeah. So yeah, this species of fish, the only fish like this found in the world, live there. And it's probably about 24 yards long and about the width of a bowling lane. So it's relatively small. But keep in mind, they're a pretty small fish. But the whole population shifts. And so 2013 was 200 individuals, and it's gone down to like 35. So a pretty small population of little fishies living in there, and some really cool adaptations I'll talk about in a second. So yeah, Devil's Hole Pupfish, pretty interesting. They only live for about a year, but once again, they live in 91 degree water for the most part of the year, and they can do this thing called paradoxical anaerobism, which just means that they can anaerobically respirate and produce ethanol instead of lactic acid, which can cause cellular damage. So these little shits can survive in without oxygen for 2 hours and be fine. So that's pretty gnarly, I guess. Remember how I talked about these psych waves? Well, when psych waves happen, the Devil's Hole pupfish are triggered by these psych waves to spawn, and they spawn in an area that's about the size of your living room carpet. Just pretty interesting, if you ask me. So they go around the bottom of this area. They spawn and they eat the algae from it, and they also eat little invertebrates as well, often eating the larvae of the beetles that will sometimes feed on them. So that's pretty interesting. They also will feed off of the animals that roost above them. So there's cliff swallows that poop in the water, so they'll eat that poop. Great nitrogen shit, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, Devil's Hole pupfish, super weird. So every year, scientists go down and they count how many pupfish there are. And one time they counted 35, and then just recently they counted 191. So that's good. But we're just kind of scratching our heads at the fact that there's so few of them and they're doing pretty well. They actually did a genome sequencing of the pupfish and found that they are missing some pretty crucial genes, like the ones that are responsible for sperm production. So we still are scratching our heads at that. So scientists have been trying to recreate their habitat in a lab and aquarium settings, and it's pretty hard. They've kind of failed quite a bit, and so these precious little fish are teaching us a lot about ourselves and how to fight for them. They're actually the first animals on the Endangered Species Act, passed in like 1970. But the Devil's Hole may be the smallest habitat on the planet that contains the entire population of one vertebrate species. And we still have a lot to learn. So I hope you enjoyed my little Devil's Hole pupfish talk. I highly recommend, if you live in California, to go visit them. You can't really see them up close, but you can see them far away. Just give them a wave and hope some psych waves happen. All right. Have a good one, guys. Toodaloo.